Hello and welcome to Lesson 7, Week 5, Equivalent Fractions. Now, today we're looking at equivalence. Equivalence means the same. And specifically, we're going to look at common fractions, decimal fractions, and percentages. And we're going to, it's like a half equals 0.50 equals 50%. And we've had a look at percentages yesterday, and we've had a look at decimal fractions the day before. So today we're going to try and marry the three concepts and make a fraction flower. Now the fraction flower will either look like this with a square, and on the bottom line you can see 1/4, and then in the second petal you see 0.25, and on the final petal 25%. That's our fraction flower, and that's how we're going to see how these fractions are the same, because a really important aspect of this is that the fractions are the same size, the parts are the same size. So I want you to watch a video on division and fractions, just to give you a reminder of how fractions are smaller parts of whole numbers. So we're always making the numbers smaller, the fractions are small. Our learning intention today is we are learning to find the equivalent decimal fractions to common fractions to percentages. And we will know that we'll be able to do that if we can recognize and apply those equivalent fractions. If you can understand and work with parts of a whole number, and if you understand how division relates to fractions. Remember in a common fraction that the line between the denominator and the numerator is the divisional bar. The likely difficulty when making a fraction flower, remember it's important to make the pieces the same size. That gives them the same value. Now make sure you use a pencil and a rubber to help you make the fraction flower. What you'll need to make this is a pencil, a rubber, A4 paper, scissors, glue, and textures to make it colourful. The language that we're using today, we're using percentage, a number out of 100. We're using fraction, a part of a whole number or quantity. Decimal, having 10 parts. Whole, the entire whole number. So for today's activity, you're going to find equivalent fractions. Draw 3 squares, or you can choose another polygon shape, and make sure the sides are even, because the whole emphasis of this lesson is on the parts being the same size. On the first square, which you've divided into 4, divide all 3 squares into 4 equal pieces. Then stick one down. That first square, you call the 4 regions on the first square quarters. So 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4. Then the second square, you divide into 4 equal regions, and you call it 0.25 because that's a quarter of 1 whole in decimal fractions. And then the last one, you divide it into the 4 regions and call it 25% because it's 25% out of the 100. We saw that decimal fractions and percentages are very closely related, so you can work that out. Now, for a bit of an extension, I've done a 10 fraction flower divided into 10 equal parts. And on the bottom, I have 1/10, 2/10. Remember, they're all 1/10. All the pieces equal 1/10. 2/10 would be those 2 parts together, and 3/10 and 4/10, so on. So you only cut to labeling them the 1/10. Then the second row is like a pizza. I put in 0.1. 0.1, which is 1/10, which we did in the number line in the first lesson this week. And the last one is 10%. And there is my number flower. Fraction flower divided into 10 equal parts. 10's a really good one to do. 5's another good one to do. But remember, the parts have to be equal. And remember, just to stick the end there. What do you know from doing this exercise? How else could you solve this problem? Have you found the best strategy? What are the rules that you followed? It's very important as we look at fractions. We're going to do some revision classes next week that we know that they're made of smaller parts. So the smaller parts of a whole number. Okay, so that's what we're dealing with. And the division fraction video attached to this video, this learning task, will be very helpful in consolidating that with you. How else could you have solved this problem? Have you found the best strategy? Are there rules that you followed? Once you've finished, can you send uploads to myself or Julia on our emails, or you can send them to the Compass portal. Thank you. Okay, star 1 activity. Make a square and just do the common fraction petal and the decimal fraction petal. So the common fraction is the 1 over parts of, and the decimal fraction is of course 0 point, and then you write in the quarter as a decimal fraction. Star activity number 2. Make the fraction flower with all 3 including the percentage. So like my example, there it is. So I have the quarter, the decimal, and the percentage. Star activity number 3, make 2 fraction flowers. Make 2 fraction flowers. I've done one with quarters and I've done one with tenths. You can do it with fifths or sixths. Usually it's better if it's a number that's easily divisible into 1. So 10, there's 10 parts. 4, there's 4 equal parts. Okay? Represent them as common fractions, decimal fractions, and percentages. Good luck. If you've got any questions, please email me the questions or give us a ring. Take care and enjoy the task. Thank you.